Hi everybody, I'm Didi Vergados from InTheKnowRadio.com, and today I'm with my very special guest, Jim Wan. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi Jim. Jim has been involved in the field of hypnosis for over 30 years and has over 9,000 professional engagements to his credit. He's considered to be one of the most professional hypnotic entertainers in the world today, having worked with personalities like Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Chris Rock, Carrot Top, Larry the Cable Guy, Sylvester Stallone, George Strait. I mean, the list goes on and on and on who you've worked with. So tell us, how did you first get into the world of hypnosis?
Well, the way I first got involved, when I was a freshman in college, I was overweight. And a friend of the family who is a medical doctor utilized hypnosis in his private practice. And he kept saying, Jim, why don't you come in, I'll hypnotize you. My standard response was, no, you won't. Because I didn't believe in it, and I certainly didn't think I could be hypnotized. I was very skeptical. So finally, after 3 or 4 times of asking me, because he had come to family gatherings a number of times, and he knew I was struggling with it, my confidence was low, and I was in college, and I was trying to obtain a lot in my life. So he finally talked me into it, and it worked. And I took off quite a few pounds in a short period of time. So I changed my major in school from computer science to psychology. I got my bachelor's degree from a small private college in Iowa. Then I got my master's in Wisconsin and did my doctoral work at the University of Southern California.
Oh, so you actually have a PhD in
Yes.
psychology.
Right.
Wow.
And I then opened up a clinic. And I ran a clinic for just about 6 years before I actually got into the entertainment world. And it kind of bit me. And I've been at it ever since. So
it's fun stuff.
It is.
I mean, sometimes when I watch these clips, they are actually hysterical what people are doing up on that stage. So why don't you share a little bit with our audience about how does that happen? Because the number one question I get asked is it real? It looks fake.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people ask me that too. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night, I don't know if you're going to get a chance to see my show here or not, but tomorrow night when I'm going to be doing a show, and at the beginning of it, I play an illusion video to show people what hypnosis is not. And a lot of people do think it's an illusion. They don't think it's real, but I say, hey, after the show, talk to the people on stage. Let them tell you if it's real or not. I never have a person who's paid to be on stage. I sometimes have people who have been hypnotized multiple times on stage over the years. But once they get hypnotized, it's so much fun, and it's so relaxing and so refreshing at the same time. Typically, an hour of hypnosis is equivalent to 6 to 8 hours of sleep, as you probably know if you're in the hypnosis world at all. And who doesn't want that? And they have fun doing it too, and they're the stars of the show, and they're appreciated. And as long as you keep it in a context that everybody enjoys it, you don't let them do anything that's going to get them in any trouble at home or at work or anywhere else. It's a good, it's a good format to not only entertain but educate. And that's how I got involved in the entertainment part. Because a lot of my professional colleagues back at the time were very much against stage hypnosis. And I think part of it back then was that the stage hypnotists who were known were kind of on a power trip. They'd come in and they'd be almighty and they'd take control and they'd have all these people under their power and they could do anything they wanted with them. And it really kind of set a bad tone for a lot of the college campuses. And a good friend of mine who became an activity director at a small college in Iowa asked me if I'd come in and do a show. And even though I didn't want to, I'd been doing a self-hypnosis seminar there for a number of years, and each time I'd get 40 or 50 students. So being there's my friend, and being that he had trouble with it, I decided to do a demonstration. So I put together about a 45-minute demonstration with a lot of humor in it. I get there, 800 students turn out.
Wow.
So right away it came to me, you know, maybe people pay to be entertained more than they pay to be educated sometimes, or maybe they have the desire to. So if you can get them to listen to you through the entertainment,
right,
get their attention, then you can do something with maybe the ways that it can be helpful for them after the entertainment. And that's what I'm shooting for. Not only to have fun, because we all need to laugh, we need to get away from our worries, but is there something eat there that we can give them to take back and utilize on a daily basis?
So speaking of that, because you shared a story with me about a weight loss stage subject you had. Tell us about that.
This happened about, I think it was about 1995. But I was doing a show at Regis College in Denver, Colorado, and I do, every year I do about 120 colleges. Right now, as a matter of fact, I'm on my fall college tour. I'm doing 62 colleges in 80 days, and these are colleges I do quite often. But anyway, I was at Regis College. I'd been there several times before, and a young man got hypnotized on stage, and one of the things that he wanted to do was have confidence to be able to take off weight. And I talked to him about it before the show and what I had done, etc. So I gave him a few suggestions during the show. Well, a year later, the Discovery Channel got a hold of me and asked me if I'd come in and do something for them with response to what had happened with the young man who had taken off a massive amount of weight, almost 100 pounds, after being hypnotized one time on stage. So they put together a program and they aired that, and that was an hour-long special back around 1996.
Yeah, I mean, there was something in that suggestion that just really he took to heart.
And for him, it stuck. Not everybody does it stick after one time, but what I also do when I go to my college campuses is I have a 4-week program. It's a self-hypnosis program. Doesn't cost them anything. They can go to my website, they print it off, and they can practice if they want. I also have downloads that actually hypnotizes them, and they don't have to go to that work, but I give them that option if they want. Well, he took the self-hypnosis program, learned how to utilize it, and that's what he used as a reinforcement. So for him, he got that suggestion plus what he gave himself, and it went from there.
He was good to go, somewhat
He
like
was.
your story.
Yes.
Excellent. So what's the difference between, would you say, stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy that one would come into the office for? Or are they the same?
There's a big difference. There's a big difference on why people typically come to a show not to come in for therapy. They come in for entertainment. However, many times a helpful suggestion is given at the end of the show, and I don't profess to try to do therapy with people on stage because I'm not doing therapy, I'm doing suggestions once they're in a hypnotic state. When you go into a hypnotherapy practice, now you're doing more with the therapeutic model behind it, no matter which way the therapist wants to take it. And hypnosis is one of the vehicles that they use to the end goal. So it's a lot different, but at the same time, a person can get a lot of the same things out of it. In terms of the stage hypnosis, a lot of people take a suggestion at the end and they carry it on forever. Same with people who go into a clinical office. Usually it's more than one session that they come in for. Usually there's reinforcement downloads or CDs or whatever that they utilize afterwards until they get to the point where the habit pattern is totally changed. So there's quite a few differences, but I find that the entertainment is still fun. And everybody likes to have fun, and if I can give them some helpful suggestions too. But I do still do some hypnotherapy, but now I do more with groups. Like I have a weight loss program that I use, I have a smoking cessation program that I use, and I work with radio stations and do different things with them and do a shared revenue where I get large numbers that come to my seminars, and it works out really well. And I'm still able to entertain, but also able to help people on the other end of the spectrum at the same time.
What I'm curious about is when you're doing stage hypnosis with someone, and say, for example, let's say they have a hidden talent that for some reason they're not confident enough to express, or they're not even aware that they have like a singing or dancing talent. And you know how you give them that opportunity where you say, in a moment, I'm going to count to 3, you're going to be Michael Jackson or whatever it is, you're going to dance like him, be like him. Have you ever had someone that discovered some latent talent that really, because of that, really blossomed?
Several times. And one not too long ago, actually this year, I was doing a program at New Mexico State. I do a beginning of the year program from every year in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And right in the middle of the show, this young man did a freestanding backflip, perfectly executed.
Really?
And after the show, I'd ask him, had he ever been able to do that before? No, he had learned how to do it, but he'd never been able to accomplish
Was he scared?
it. Well, he didn't have the confidence. He didn't have the confidence he was able to do it. When you're in hypnosis, you have both the conscious and subconscious minds working together, so now you're running on all 8 cylinders, using 100% of what you're capable of. The confidence was there. The ability was there. He knew how to do it, but he didn't think he could do it. So there's a big difference. And once he did it one time, then after that, he could do it from that point forward.
And that's what I mean. Somebody who actually took the suggestion, realized, wow, I can do this, or I'm going to pursue a career in singing or whatever it may be.
And I've had, I do a thing called, like if I go to a certain college, let's say for instance, University of Illinois, and I do something, I'll say, tonight we're doing the University of Illinois Got Talent. Well, it's like America's Got Talent. It's like The Voice combined. So they all sing. I go down the line. I say, you can sing a couple words of anything, a song that you learned when you're growing up, maybe a patriotic song, maybe something you learned here in college, maybe something you sing all the time. And I go down the line and I let each one sing a couple lines. And I tell the other people on stage that no matter what kind of a singer they are, the next person, they're going to encourage them no matter what. They're going to really back them up. And went down the line, and after the show, this young lady came up to me who has a beautiful voice. And she told me, she says, I love to sing, but I've never sang in front of an audience before. Right. And now I think I can do it.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about.
Things
it's
like that.
Giving people permission through hypnosis to actually express those gifts.
Yeah. And once they know the gifts are there, and once they realize that they can utilize it.
Well,
then
once
from
they've
there.
done it in front of like
That's
800
right.
people too,
That's
that
right.
gives them a lot of confidence.
Big boost in confidence. Yeah.
So what would you say, because people think, people who would want to get into stage hypnosis or entertainment, what advice would you have for them? Being that you've done it, you're kind of like the king of the hypnosis world for entertainment. So
Yeah, and the stage hypnosis world is changing a lot. I owned a couple comedy clubs for a few years, and back then comedians, everybody wanted to be a comic, so pretty soon it became that everybody thought they could do a joke they got in front, and of course they didn't perform very well. And kind of what's happening, and sad to say, in the world of stage hypnosis, there's a lot of trainings, and there's some excellent trainers out there, but there's a lot of people that go in and do a 2-day or 3-day or 4-day or 5-day training program and then come out and want to be a stage hypnotist. And it's not that easy. And some of them that are going into it probably shouldn't be going into it anyway. But what I usually recommend for somebody who really wants to, find the hypnotist or hypnotist who you think are really good, contact them, and do a mentorship with that person if you can. Right now I have a young lady from Ottawa, Canada with me doing a mentorship. I have a gentleman from Baltimore, Maryland with me doing an internship. I have another gentleman with me from Iowa doing a mentorship. These are all three that are going to be part of my show tomorrow night. And they've come a long ways, and they're very good. They're very good, but the young man from Baltimore, he's going to be with me for 8 months. By the time he gets back to Baltimore next year, he'll be able to do any market. He'll be able to sell himself any place, anytime, because he'll have the skills. And you don't learn those skills in just a weekend. It just doesn't happen.
yeah, and I'm assuming you help them keep the ego in check a little bit too.
Yes, and it's really easy to let that go. And you know,
see
I'm a
that.
hypnotist. I have the most power. And I always tell people, I don't have any more power than you do. I just learned how to use a gift that I've developed. And any one of you could do the same thing.
And that's true. So what have you seen in your career over the last 30 years that has absolutely astounded or amazed you in terms of what we are capable with the human mind?
You know, I've seen a lot of things over the years, but something that's really astounded me in terms of one particular example, and these are just things that strike my funny bone. I had a situation happen. This happened a number of years ago at Arkadelphia, Arkansas, Henderson State University. And when they do shows there, they usually have local police officers and they have county police officers if there's over 1,000 students there. And we used to draw about 2,000 students. And they did it in a field house. And I was doing a thing where I had a guy at the end who thinks he's a cowboy, and he was riding this balloon, a bull. And he was riding this bull, and it broke. And he said, where did it go? And I looked back, and there's a county officer back there, and he had a high hat on. And I said, I think the officer back there took him and put him away. Well, he took off after the officer. And he chased him all the way across the campus. And security had to go, and they had to bring him back because he was chasing this guy because he thought he had his bull. But the thing I tell him, too, is when he got to a certain point, when he got 100 yards away from the college where we're at, right away he realized what he was doing, and he stopped at that point in time. So I tell people that it can't stay there. It stops.
Yes.
So it astounded me that he did exactly what I told him would happen, even though he got 100 yards away, even though he wanted that bull, he got to that point, it was like,
and he just
boom, stopped right there. So
that
that astounded me, in that, yes, suggestions work that well if you word them correctly. And that's the key. There's a lot of hypnotists who probably don't set up their routines properly. Same way when I was doing clinical work. If I didn't set up what I was saying properly and go to in the realm of what that person understood, whether visual, auditory, kinesthetic, because I use a lot of NLP in that too when I'm working clinically, if I wasn't within their realm of understanding, they probably weren't going to respond. So I had to be able to change the way I presented myself so that they could accept it and be able to follow through on it. Right. And that's what a lot of people, I think today, maybe that's one of the biggest problems, is that a lot of hypnotists out there, and I'm not saying a lot, but some that I've seen, no matter where they go, they have the same show. They have the same routine. Well, you got to do it different, like we're doing it for hypnotists now. You got to have a certain change when you go in front of a hypnotic crowd. You have to have a certain change when you go in front of a corporate crowd, in front of a casino crowd, in front of a cruise ship crowd, in front of a college crowd, in front of a high school crowd. Every one of them, you have to present yourself differently. And you also have to change your material. Right now,
I was going to say, what would be the difference? Because I would think with a corporate crowd, they'd be a little bit more stodgy, wouldn't they?
Yes. So your pre-talk has to be longer, it has to be more educational, and not quite as light and fluffy as as you would with a college group or high school group. You don't even have to do a pre-talk. You go in, they want to see the action. That's what they want to see. But if you present your pre-talk in a humorous way, you still get your educational points across as well as get them ready to go. High school group, if you're doing a post-prom or project graduation, your pre-talk shouldn't be more than 30 seconds long. In there, get them up there, get them hypnotized. That's what they want to see. A corporate group, you go to a cruise on a cruise ship, that's different too, because you have audiences from all different countries. So you got to be able to present it in such a way that's very visual, more so than you would in maybe in another capacity.
Culturally
that's
appropriate.
Right, culturally appropriate.
Well, you got to think fast on your feet,
You
Jim.
do. And that's what I think of the experience of the many years.
Yes.
But I also like the college. You know, I'm quite a bit older than most college students. I have a granddaughter that's in college. And what I do every summer, this summer, I hire 3 college students, and we have a retreat for a day, and we go over everything that's hot in the college market, the music, the videos, what's streaming, etc., trending.
Get yourself informed.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then I make, like this year, Straight Outta Compton was a movie this summer that a lot of people liked. Now it was hard to tone it down to use it because of the material.
Sure, it was explicit out of
It's
Compton.
very explicit. but you say, well, I might do something in the other night I had a folding chair fall over off the stage and go bang. And wow, I thought that was Straight Outta Compton for a second. But then I went right on. But all the kids got the context. I wouldn't have done that if I was in a corporate audience.
Right.
Jurassic World was a big one this summer. So I do things with Jurassic World. I do things with the music that's popular, the dance steps that are popular. And I mold new material and routines, and then once I do a show, I record everything that I did, and then the next year when I go back, it's a totally different show. The third year I go back, it's a totally different show. So the fourth year I go back for 4-year college, I can do some of the same routines that I did 4 years ago.
Because they're new students.
It's new students, right?
Unless those flunker ones are still there.
Yeah, the 6-year plan.
So, my experience working with people, I find children are so easy to work with, or even young teens or very young adults as compared to adults. So what would you say the difference would be in entertainment in those crowds as well, like the corporate crowd or the older crowd, maybe a cruise for over 50 versus the university crowd?
Well, and even younger than that. Younger than a high school crowd, younger than the middle school crowd, younger than the grade school crowd. I used to be a counselor, and I would actually use puppets to do an imaginism with the young students that were 3, 4, 5 years old. And I could hypnotize them in a way through the puppets. I never call it hypnosis, but it was very similar through the puppets. Not through me, but through the puppets. The puppets could do it, I could not. So I learned at a very early age. And I also, back then, a lot of things were with subliminal messages. And I made a subliminal message for we had a class that was for behavioral misfunctioning, and they called them at that time. And they played that subliminal tape, and what they found was it gave the students in there more of a calming effect. They were more in control.
Well, what were the suggestions on
that you'd find that today in class you're going to find yourself being very much at ease, very much in control.
So exactly what you put on there.
Wanting to do what the teacher says.
It's amazing.
And some of them, and it took. And the teachers, they were astounded by that, and I was too. When you get up into the junior high, then that's another population change, because if you go into a junior high to do a show, junior high kids have a tendency to be very giddy, and usually junior high you have either 6, 7, and 8, or 7th and 8th graders. So in a context like that, what I typically do is I bring down the 8th graders, but I tell them that in order to come down, they also have to bring down a teacher. So then I have a teacher, and then I have an 8th grader. I have a teacher, I have an 8th grader. Then I can put together a show that they're not working off each other, where you have kind of a buffer zone. High school, when I do high school shows, I typically get, when I'm doing a day show, I usually pick the juniors and seniors because they have a place established in the high school. You do a freshman and sophomore, you don't want to have them do something by accident that they're going to have carrying for all 4 years.
That makes sense. I never thought about that. Yeah.
So every one, you got to change it. So a high school assemblies.
Very well thought out.
Well, I've done it for so long, and I've done probably 1,000 high school assemblies. A lot of hypnotists do the after prom and project grad. Very, very few hypnotists do school assemblies. Very few. I'm one of the few out there. So you got to go in there. You got to get their attention quick. You got to be entertaining. You got to be educational, and you also have to do something that the administration and the rest of the educational staff get something out of it too, and something to take back. So with high schools, I have 4 different assemblies I do. One's on test taking, one's on bullying, one's on self-confidence.
Really? Oh, that's amazing.
And one's on alcohol and drug.
So you're really giving back to the community by doing that.
Right. And then we do, usually that follows up by a night show too, that's open to the public. We do that many times. So I got, you know, and then I go into the college market. Then the cruise ship. In the early 90s, I did cruises for 40 straight weeks, and I got burnt out, so I don't do as many.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm supposed to be on a cruise right now, a 21-day cruise out of Barcelona, Spain to Cape Canaveral, but I had 10 shows that I wasn't going to. Once I set up a show with someone, once I set up an interview with someone, I follow through and I do what I say I'm going to do. And the shows, I'm not going to put somebody else in there or cancel out because I had an opportunity to do a 21-day cruise. Plus, it would have been pretty boring. I get bored on a ship for that long. But I
21 days is a long time on a ship.
Yeah, and as a repositioning cruise it was. So I do 7 and 9 days. 21 days is a little bit too long for me.
I get bored.
Yes.
So if you could leave our audience with one thing that they need to know about the power of the mind, what would that be? Just what's possible.
Everyone has the power. Very few people harness it. Anyone can learn how.
And you are a perfect example of that, beginning with your weight loss.
I do weight loss. I never sleep more than 4 hours a night year round. I've been doing that for almost 30 years. If I have a cold,
I need to learn how to harness that one.
Well, you can minimize symptoms of things. Like when I have a cold, I can minimize that. If I'm sick to my stomach, I hypnotize myself before I go on stage, and I still do the show. Nobody knows that I'm sick. So there are a lot of self-control issues that you can harness with the power of the mind. But most people just don't think they can do it.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing is people don't believe it's possible, so they don't even try, like your backflip guy.
That's right. You have to have the belief in yourself. You see other people and you believe they can do it, but if you don't have the belief that you can do it, you're not going to do it. Simple as that.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We will see you shortly at your show.
I hope so.
Okay.
Maybe very close. Maybe right on stage.
Maybe.